For today's video, I'm going to do a little demonstration. I've been seeing a lot of anti-centrist, anti-moderate rhetoric coming from the left, which is not hard to explain away because, as I'm about to show you, they're partially to blame for what's happening right now, but they're also the key to fixing it. Now, personally, I identify politically as a labor centrist, which makes me a little different than your traditional centrist. Your traditional centrist is all about compromise. As a labor centrist, I am motivated to pick and choose policies from both sides in order to find what's best for working class Americans. Right now, with the Trump administration hurting farm workers and grocery store prices, that means leaning a little more left. Whereas your traditional centrist is going to compromise in whichever direction has more leniency. And you might be thinking the right isn't that lenient. And I'll kind of get to that. So for this demonstration, I have the right and the left. Is this an excuse to use up some box wine that I might have overbought a few weeks ago? Shut up. So we're going to talk about, like, on every issue, let's say, for immigrants. The right is going to vote to kick all immigrants out of America. The left are going to vote to keep all immigrants in America. And they're about equal. They have equal power. This demonstration assumes that there's a 50-50 split through the voters. But for the people who don't have an opinion so radical as all immigrants should stay in and all immigrants should leave, there are your moderates. And they're going to go to the left and say, hey, let's assume at this point it's the illegals who are getting kicked out. I'm not sure how accurate that is right now, but for this scenario, let's say where the policy is currently, the illegals are getting kicked out. The moderates are going to go to the left and say, what if we only kick out the illegals who aren't working? And they're probably going to say, hey, no, we stand on our ground. All illegals should be, or all immigrants should be allowed in the States. So the moderates now go to the right and say, we can't kick out all the immigrants. We are currently kicking out all the illegal ones. For the benefit of America, what if we kicked out all the ones who weren't working, legal or illegal? And the right goes, those goddamn libs not letting us kick out our immigrants. I guess we have to compromise. They can't let us have anything these days, but they're still going to compromise. They're going to package it the nice way the moderates pitch them and feel attacked from the moderates and the left. And that gets the moderate vote into the right. And now the right has more power than the left. But the right is pissed off that they got attacked from the moderates and the left. So they feel like they only have a third of the representation, but they have 2/3 of the power because the left was unwilling to compromise. Now, that's a bad example because I think the left would compromise if that was a deal given. But let's move on to something like tariffs. We hadn't had that many tariffs before Trump, but the way you're supposed to do tariffs is you use them to match. You use them to make domestic product match the price of foreign product. It's not something you're supposed to threaten people with to get them to go along with your ideals. Let's say America had a policy where tariffs were only as high as it needed to be to make domestic goods equally as expensive as foreign goods. Your rights are going to vote for mass tariffs on everything, way higher than they need to be. Your lefts are going to vote for no tariffs. What if the right or the moderates were to go to the left and say, hey, what if we compromise and only tariff the goods that we can't produce? Or what if we only tariff the goods that we can reliably produce domestically? And the left stands their ground saying tariffs are an opposition to the free market. So they don't get their vote. The right, the moderates come to the right and offer a deal where they go, hey, what if we buff the tariffs a little bit to boost American policy? And the rights go, I guess we'll take it. It's something. Bada bing, bada boom. That's another moderate vote for the right. Now they have twice as much as the left still. You know what? That was a bad example, but I'm going to leave it in anyway. In fact, both of these were bad examples. But that's because I don't want to talk about the harsh topic. I was saving that for the end, actually. Because both of these are likely not to go this way. These are not the kind of policies the left and right are arguing about. What they do argue about is things like transgender people in bathroom and sports. The right is going to vote to keep those people out of their bathrooms, out of their schools, out of their sports. The left is going to vote to let those people in their sports, schools, and bathrooms. The moderates are going to go to the left and say, hey, not every transgender person is presenting as their chosen gender yet. We can't just let those people wander into these spaces. Are you willing to compromise? And I'm concerned that the left would probably say no, because they have to stand their ground on trans rights for all. But the moderates then go to the right and say, hey, these people have cocks and vaginas that don't match the bathroom they're going to. They should, if they still have their equipment, they should go to the bathroom that matches their equipment. And that sounds like a good compromise to them. They don't want transgenders in either bathroom at all, but for now that makes sense. So they're going to go with that. And get more bans on trans people. Then the next year, this becomes the new center, and a policy goes to the moderates go back to the left and say, hey, we can roll back these bans and have it go back and still offer you, hey, if they can only go to the bathroom as a gender they're presenting, if they started presenting yet. And they're like, no, trans rights for all. They get to choose the bathroom they want to use. And the right goes, or they go to the rights and pitch this idea. They're going to work regressively. If they don't have the parts and they don't look and sound the part, they don't belong in the wrong bathroom. Now, that sounds almost like the same as this. But the thing with this ban is it would effectively ban middle transition people who have one genitalia and present as the other from using any bathrooms at all. And this is, of course, the compromise the right did make. Because it sounds like two fair arguments. Hey, if they don't have male parts, they shouldn't be in the male bathroom. If they don't have female parts, they shouldn't be in the female bathroom. On top of, hey, if they don't look male, they shouldn't be in the male bathroom. And if they don't look female, they shouldn't be in the female bathroom. And that effectively bans them completely from a public restroom or a public sports team or public school. Whereas the policies they offered here was like protections for those who are looking the part and protections for those who had the parts. The end result is, through similar argument, they compromised more with the right than they did with the left and gave the right more power. Now let me see if I can drink these to get the next demonstration rolling. All right, I currently have an empty stomach, so I settled for just making them equal again. Let's have an alternate timeline, right? Where the issue came up and they go to the left and say, hey, not every transgender has started presenting yet. They still have this genitalia or that genitalia. They should be encouraged to use the bathroom of what they're presenting as. And the left goes, we can accept that. And they get the moderate vote. Now this isn't a ban. This is an extension of protections only to those who are presenting, which is a whole other issue, believe it or not. And then they go to the left again and say, hey, some people are mid-transition. They don't really look the part either way. They should be protected in public bathrooms. And so left goes, yeah, if they're mid-transition, their rights should be protected. If they look female, if they're presenting female and have male parts, and they want to use the female bathroom to see if they can get away with it, and they get caught, they should have protections in place. As long as they didn't do anything else illegal, you know what kind of things the right likes to say about them, even though statistically it's not as high as they claim it is. And they say, yeah, if those people use the opposite gender bathroom mid-transition, they're protected. And then this becomes a new center point. And so the moderates go to the left and say, hey, transition is a complicated thing. Not everyone can afford it. What if we changed policy to have public restrooms genderless, And this would be, from what I understand about this policy when it's been pitched before, is you have full-length doors and full-length stalls so that no one can get under any stalls or into any stalls or anywhere where anyone would have their bits exposed. And then you have a communal sink, that you have lockable doors in every stall and a communal sink. I like this policy, how it sounds, but these are the moderate steps to get there. This would make the whole transgender thing mute. Anyways, you pitch this idea, and the left goes, yeah, that sounds brilliant. That would erase the whole gender argument altogether and have safe bathrooms. And they go to the right and say, hey, what if we go back to banning transgenders from bathrooms that do not that do not match their genitalia or sex to the bathroom. And they go, all transgenders should be banned from the bathrooms. In a world where the right is more as radical as or as extreme as they claim to be sometimes. This would push the moderates away to the left again and give the left superiority on this issue. Now, it's hard to tell if I explain this well or not, because this whole video is unscripted. I'm kind of pulling things off the top of my head this whole time. But that's kind of how this works, is when the left... Yeah. Hold on. I'm going to mirror the whole video because I'm not drinking again. Anyway. I might have explained this poorly. Because I unscripted this, and I did this whole video unscripted. But that's kind of how this works, is you have the left and the right. And the left has all these ideas, a very strong moral compass that tells them what should and shouldn't be. And the right has a very flexible moral compass on an ambition for their goals, as I've talked about in this book review, and in this book review. The issue with that is everyone on the left struggles to compromise in a conversation, and everyone on the right feels like they have to self-censor. And what that means is the centrists talk to the self-censoring right and get pulled a little. The center and the self-censoring right end up pulling the center to somewhere in between them, and so the right can keep moving farther. Whereas the left doesn't self-center, they stand true on their beliefs, and if someone in the center doesn't match them, they kind of get pushed away. That's kind of the issues. The left is more of a popularity contest for is the better moral compass. So anyone that has a less than desirable moral compass, even if they're still very moral people, get pushed away by the extreme on the left. Whereas the extreme on the right are constantly under attack, and they are under attack politically and socially, as well as learning habits of self-censorship. These are real things. These are not just right talking points. They do have a tendency to self-censor in public and around new people, and especially when dealing with centrists and the left. And this self-censorship helps people in the center agree with them as they use moderate points to get there. Now, my political strategy when talking politics to people has always been to lean into their beliefs to introduce mine. Like on the transgender debate, I'm like, yeah, it's a mental illness, but the only effective treatment we have that prevents loss of life and insanity is gender-affirming care. And that's usually, and I'd say about the third time I bring that up to someone who does not like transgender people, that usually works to bring them back around. That's a compromisal argument. Now, I believe gender dysphoria is something up there, but I wouldn't call it an illness because I don't think it's a detriment unless you make it a detriment. However, politically, on the compass, it's become a detriment to socially be transgender in certain spaces. It's things like that. You can't stand firm on the left. If you want to bring the center back towards the left, you've got to compromise with the center beliefs, and you got to compromise with the rightist beliefs. The right has gotten so much power because they've been working in inches, while the left has been working in miles. The right will take any half step they can get towards their goals, while the left demands their goals and has no plans for the half steps in between. This demonstration might have been poorly executed, but I hope I got the point across that the way that we undo this is built on an endless series of compromises that might take years and decades. Otherwise, the only solution is revolution and probably more political murders, which, as a content creator, I have to say I'm against. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and stay a fan.